The home inspection report can be a blow that makes a sale fall through. And today we have a special guest with us, nationally certified licensed home inspector Trevor Drinen. And Trevor will be sharing with us the risks, the challenges, and unhappy surprises that actually can come during the home inspection. Aloha everyone, welcome back to our channel. My name is Chris Shomo, a real estate agent and owner and founder of Home Sweet Home Hawaii Real Estate, brokered by eXp Realty. I'm happy to have with me a special guest today, Home Inspector Trevor Drinen, who has seen it all. Trevor is the founder of Signature Home Inspections Hawaii and owner of Oahu Home Inspection Services. So Trevor has over 20 years of experience, not just in home inspections, but also in building, flipping houses, and real estate investing. And his hands-on experience and unique combination of skills really are what make him a trusted professional in our industry. I've worked with Trevor for many years on many inspections with clients all over Oahu, and I've really appreciated his insight. Today, Trevor's going to share with us some of his most jaw-dropping inspection stories and what red flags to look out for, and the importance, of course, of getting a thorough inspection before committing to a property. Hey man, thanks again for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey Trevor, what's the most shocking thing you've actually come across in a home inspection?
Shocking. Now it really depends how you define the word. So we've seen from fire damage to toilets missing, to foundations that have collapsed, to walls that have fallen over. So how would you define the word shocking?
Yeah, and like surprises when you walk into a home too. Or you haven't walked in and seen any like dead people, have you?
We've seen dead things. We'll just leave it right there, dead things. We found odors that are very shocking. We've fallen through floors. You could go on and on. If you neglect a home, it's filled with surprises.
Oh man, that sounds crazy.
Yeah. It's fun, not crazy. But on the senses of shocking things to people, I always say do your research. Know the home before you get into contract, and that would be with you and your client, right? At the same time, go visit them if you can. If you can't visit them, if you're not on island, you're remote, please do all the information you can about the neighborhood, about the property. Just gather and research information so you won't be shocked with fire damage, walls missing, etc.
Yeah, really good point. So what are some of the biggest red flags that you've seen and like warnings as opposed to like things that are just like that need cosmetic repairs?
Yeah, I think a red flag will really start with who you are, or as a client, what you could say, what's my red flag limit? These people have different limits.
That's a really good point, yep.
Right, so as I've been in the building industry and I built things back and forth, I bought a house with a tree growing through it. Loved it, I was excited about that. But for some people are like, tree, red flag, red flag. Well, the honest truth is you have to enter that at your comfortable level. So a red flag for me, again, wouldn't be a tree growing through it, but a red flag for you might be structural damage. Well, let's just pause there, because the truth about any home, what is it made out of? Usually it's made out of wood, concrete, and some steel. All those attributes can be replaced and or repaired, but you have to have your comfort level working with groups of professionals. And what do you want to spend your money on, repairing, or do you want to spend it on upfront on, hey, I want to have a nicer home and maybe not have that repair time frame? Does that make sense?
It does. Well said. Well said. Going back to what you're most comfortable with, right?
Yes.
And especially the first-time home buyers, they might freak out at like a couple of missing outlets or something.
Oh my word! Yeah.
You know, or something like, oh my gosh, there's a minor leak in the roof or plumbing or something.
Right.
Right. But it all depends on comfort level.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
A home, if you break it down, we all have opened up umbrellas, right? You open up the umbrella, it comes over your head, and so if an umbrella has a pinhole in it, then it's going to leak on your shoulder a little bit. Well, if a house has a nail hole in it, and it might leak in the attic. But even roofs could be replaced. Even the umbrella, as it opens, that fabric could be replaced. And so when we look at things, we have to take it as a whole and know that things can be repaired and or replaced. We just want to have the knowledge about it. Having the knowledge is a huge portion about that comfort level where we're being able to breathe, bring it back down. Oh, it's a hole in the roof. Well, that could be repaired by what? A roofer. And then they'll have a warranty with the repairs they've completed.
So Can you elaborate more on like the red flags that you may see?
100%. I think one of the most interesting conceptions of red flags I'd push back to is a realtor. On the senses of they'll cover up red flags. I've seen realtors come in and the house it's leaning like at a 4%, so you're walking and you're like, hey, I'm going down straight. But the house is tilting, and then the red flag would be on the senses of, as that realtor or professional aspect, saying, oh, isn't it a beautiful home? It's so lovely. It has so much potential.
Yeah.
Well, every home has so much potential. It goes back to what you said earlier, honest truth, as a new buyer or veteran buyer, what is that comfort level? So that red flag will vary as we wave that flag back and forth. I would even ask you as a professional realtor, what are some red flags that you see before you're even in contract about a home?
You know, that's a great question. Thanks for putting that back on me. So when we do our walkthrough, right, the usual red flags that I'll see are the cosmetic repairs, right, in like specific areas. So when we walk into a room and all of a sudden, oh, it looks like, you know, most of the ceiling here has been repainted in this one particular area.
Right.
Okay, so that's like usually a dead giveaway. There's like there was previously a leak there, or something, and that's something to keep in mind too, because of course whenever you buy a home, there is a seller's disclosure, where the sellers have to disclose everything that has happened to the home, anything bad as well as repairs, right? But when you start seeing these touch-ups here and there, these cosmetic repairs, and it's not listed as a seller in the seller's disclosure, then it's very suspect that the sellers are hiding something. So that's usually what we see.
Yeah.
And of course, to your point, that comment earlier, when you're walking into a home, especially in the older homes in Hawaii, right, where is it just me, or is it a little bit of a shift going down in this house? Yeah. And of course, we don't carry marbles with us to like roll a marble across the floor. Maybe we all should. But it's like, wait a minute, this is a little suspect. Something is wrong with the foundation.
So that's also an interesting aspect, because if you did bring a bag of marbles and you put them on the floor, one of the biggest things here in Hawaii and probably throughout the US is some people don't use what's called self-leveling. And so self-leveling isn't present. That floor will always have imperfections.
Even in new construction.
Even in new construction.
In the ultra luxury condo towers in Kaka'ako, right? You walk in, it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, and that's unleveled self-leveling subflooring. Doesn't mean foundation. So that red flag almost could be a mirage. That red flag could be a yellow. It could even be, it's really non-existent. But in our head, we need to watch out how we interpret things. So if we have felt, say, a flooring that's unlevel, we need to then go out the outside and look at the foundation, whether it's a building, whether it's a house, has the whole foundation shifted? Then we need to know about the area. Does the area have appropriate soil? One of the bigger red flags per se is soil types here in Hawaii. There's adobe soil. It's clay.
I'm glad you're getting into this, because this is often overlooked. And for whether it's real estate agents, inspectors, and especially buyers and homeowners. So thanks for getting into this.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. I mean, clay, if you take clay in your hands, right? We all kid, we played with Play-Doh, or we played with some form of clay or mud. You could shape it, you could compress it, you could mold it. Well, now imagine a house sitting on soil called adobe or clay. That weight can cause the house to settle and sink in. Now, adobe soil has a compaction ratio of 3 to 6 feet, sometimes depending upon which area you're living in. So as it dries out, it could expand, and as it gets wet, it contracts. So the house is moving. So you all of a sudden you have a disco party at the house as you go in, but you just need to have the knowledge. Now, is that a red flag for you? For some, but it can also be corrected by the proper engineers, the proper architects, and the proper water diversion. With clay soil, for it not to be a red flag, you have to properly divert the water, because if the soil never gets wet, that moves it down from a red to a different color.
Right. Can you share with the foundations in Kailua, for example, where it's all sand? How does that differentiate as a foundation from the clay?
Yeah, so you'll have Kailua, and I would say most of Kailua would be a sand compact. But then you have, in any valley throughout the islands, whatever island you're on, then you have, if you look at the rocks or the mountains, right, water flows down where? To the valley.
Right.
That valley is more prone to have soil or clay soil in those areas.
Okay.
Then it washes out toward the ocean. As we go toward the ocean, then we have more sand fill. So every area has different types of fills and different types of foundations. We want to take a close look at all those foundations so we don't have nightmare stories, but we want to have the knowledge to be equipped, because homes and foundations can be salvaged, protected, and repaired.
Do you see most of the structural problems exist by the valleys then, in the valleys as opposed to on the sand foundations of Kailua, Waimanalo?
Yeah, I think to put a comparison, it's really hard on the senses of, I always push it back, it tells a story of a previous homeowner. If they're equipped with knowledge, because for any foundation, we've got to think water diversion, water diversion, water diversion. And no matter what area that's occurred at, if we have proper water diversion, we're going to have a nice foundation. And it also depends who the builder was, because if the foundation and they cut corners, it could be a thin foundation where it's cracked. So you've got to really pay attention to all numerous factors. It's hard just to say one or the other, or certain areas are more prone. It really goes back to builders and homeowners and how the house has been taken care of and built.
I'm glad you went into this, because this is actually one of the questions that I was going to ask you later. It's not just like what are you looking for interior wise, but also doing a scope of the exterior, which is huge, and looking at the drainage and what goes with that.
Yeah. Interior to me often could be the lipstick on the pig. Pigs could be beautiful. You put a pig in a leotard with some lipstick and put an apple in its mouth, and it looks cute and it looks appetizing. But the truth is usually found within the crawl spaces, within the foundations, and then even within the yard sloping and how it disperses the water to the house. So not just foundations, then we're going outside. What's it look like in the surrounding areas? But I'll tell you, the telltale sign of neglect, of not care, is in the foundation. It's almost like my belly. It can get pretty round in this area, right? Well,
Mine
I can
as well.
have, you're just, nice belly, man.
Put a lot of work into this.
Right. But I think if we have gut rot or something happening internally in our organs, then that comes out to as our being and our health. Well, with a house, if the foundation has some issues or has drainage issues, that comes and reveals the house has issues. It can look pretty on the outside, like we look pretty. We're not too bad. We're not too bad ourselves. But on that senses of a house can look beautiful with paint and neglect, paint and other aspects of it. But then when you examine the internal components, it could raise some flags because it has per se gut rot, where waters come in the foundation and cause some things to be unlevel, or it has adobe soil, or the foundation hasn't been built right.
Yeah. Really good points. And so along with that, so we know like structurally, that's like the largest concern. And then in your opinion, as far as concerns go, do we step up to plumbing, or would it be electrical, or all the above?
Good question. I would honestly say it's in a different avenue than most people think. Most people say roof, plumbing, and foundation. I say landscaping as in water diversion, because that water will affect the foundation.
Let me interject too, and this is really important too, because not to put a feather in Trevor's cap, but he is one of the best home inspectors.
Your opinion, we'll let others say that.
But it's really important to inspect the exterior again for these like main reasons. It's all about the water flow, where that's going, and keeping with the structural integrity of the house, right?
Can we even say that, as you said, it goes off the water flow. Well, now imagine whether you're on a hillside, water flows to the house, right? So then let's pause. Let's go to a flat area. Now, if you're in a flat area and your roof doesn't have gutters, like say Eva area, most people say, oh, you don't need gutters, it's so sunny. Well, does it ever rain in Eva, Chris?
Sure, absolutely.
So when it does rain, if your roof is shedding water to both sides, where's that water going?
Right, it's going to be collecting somewhere, right?
Right. So if water's coming off the roof in a storm, most storms that I know of have a little bit of wind. So first, as it comes off the roof, it blows back to the house and it hits the windows. If windows are left over, you have issues. But ultimately, it pushes rainwater back to the foundation area. And then if the soil saturates and we have water going into our foundation, we could have settlement as worst case. We could have foundation spalling, where water's sucking into the concrete, cracking and chipping. And so we really want to divert water no matter where you're at. That's why we'll actually spend more time on the landscaping attribute to the foundation and look at those because those are a telltale sign of the versus. Then we go into, so not versus, but then we go into plumbing, electrical, and foundation and roof. But we first got to assess the exterior.
Yeah, because that's of course where the most, for the common buyer, that's where the most expense is going to be too, is building that foundation, solid foundation.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, if homeowners are ignoring the whole foundation aspect, then they're just likely ignoring the plumbing issues, the electrical and all that.
Yeah, and don't forget foundation issues tie with landscaping. You've got to take it as a whole picture, not just as a footprint of the foundation. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's it for part 1 of this series of home inspection nightmares. And if you'd like to reach out to Trevor directly, his contact info is below in the information below. If you found this video helpful, feel free to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button,
Bing!
And tap the notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever we roll out a new video and keep you up to date on the Hawaii real estate market. Aloha.